James Comey is one of the main figureheads of, the so-called deep state. If I used that phraseology like 2-3 years ago, it would be considered conspiracy theory, just as anybody who believed that Barack Obama was a radical was originally labeled by the media as a conspiracy theorist. Then the guy comes in and is basically originally quietly kind of radical and then slowly openly, to the point where Bibi emerges shell-shocked, quote-unquote, from his private meeting with Barack Obama, as we talked about before. But I was reporting like a year or two before on Obama's radical ties. Also, the deep state issue. The issue of Obama and the Obama-era intelligence community using our intelligence agencies to first spy on the Trump campaign, and then second, especially within James Comey's FBI, to fabricate totally made up a dossier that from the outside that is then brought into the FBI in order to justify the whole Russia collusion hoax that was perpetuated on the Trump campaign. They spied on the Trump campaign. Then the whole thing is leaked to the media, and then for 3 years, 2.5 years, Donald Trump, first as a candidate, but then especially as a president, comes under this cloud of treason, really, of the Trump administration, Trump himself sitting around and colluding with America's enemy in order to steal an election. This while the Obama administration colluded with America's enemy, Iran, in early talks to then sign a disastrous nuclear deal that gives trillions of dollars to the Iranians, essentially, while we turn a blind eye, basically, to their Iranian nuclear program. So talk about consorting with our enemies. Trump did no such thing, and they knew it. Okay, that's the larger picture. Now, let's zero in specifically on June 6, 2017. This is when James Comey, FBI, disgraced former FBI director, at the time he was still FBI director, he goes in and he briefs the President of the United States in a very strange briefing. This is, and we're going to get to the briefing he did a day before, but we'll get to that later because it's scandalous. But let's go to June 6, 2017. James Comey attends a briefing with other members of the of the Obama intelligence apparatus. Comey stays with Trump for a little bit after the briefing, where Comey is then one-on-one with Donald Trump, and Comey briefs, quote-unquote, in a classified briefing, the incoming president of the United States, June 6, 2017, so after the election, prior to the inauguration, this is in Trump Tower, Comey briefs Donald Trump for some reason that we couldn't understand, but now we do, on none other than the dossier. Comey sits with the president and says, listen, well, I don't know the exact words, but something about salacious material, which means he's sitting there and telling Trump about a dossier put together by Hillary and the DNC, but doesn't tell Trump who put it together. Instead, he tells Trump, apparently, in this briefing, we've got this thing, we've got information, he doesn't say where it came from, that Russia may have recorded you in some sort of compromising positions, which Comey knew was a lie fabricated by Hillary, but he still tells Trump about this. And then the reason he claims he tells Trump later in testimony and in his book is because the media had this material and they were going to release it, and the FBI knew about that. Actually, the media had the material for 2 months. They couldn't release it because it was total BS. They would have been sued, so there was no release. Actually, Comey's briefing to Trump was then leaked to the media and used as the news hook for the media, which had the dossier for months but couldn't publish it because they knew it was insane and they would be sued. Comey briefs Trump. Somebody leaks that to the media. Presto. The media publicizes the dossier. BuzzFeed publishes the dossier. But actually, there may be more. It may be that Comey didn't only brief Trump to then somebody leaked the briefing to the media, and then the whole Russia collusion claims are world news, and Trump is smeared as a Russian agent, basically, under investigation. It gets worse. Joining me right now is Joshua Klein, who did quite a bit of research on this topic for Breitbart and this radio show. Okay, so let's start with this briefing. June 6, 2017. Now let's fast forward to the Inspector General's report, the IG report, on Comey's crimes, really, but they didn't charge him, and maybe we'll see why in the future. The IG report released last Thursday actually has new details about what Comey did immediately after this briefing with Trump. And I think we can see from this, in fact, we can see from this, what else the briefing was used for. So tell us, Joshua Klein, James Comey goes into the briefing and he comes out. Well, okay, before James Comey goes into the briefing, he has some certain things waiting for him that he has set up that tells us about his intentions for this briefing. Correct?
Yeah. I mean, that's even before that. This is how deep it goes. I mean, this was very, well organized and pre-planned and stealthily. He actually sat down and discussed this with a small, group of, deep state plotters against Trump, names such as James Rabicki, who is his chief of staff, James Baker, who is his, general counsel, McCabe, who of course is a deputy director who became director at a certain point. So they actually were sitting around plotting this even beforehand, they knew that he was going to be giving a briefing. They wanted him to give over this quote-unquote salacious material, which is on the P dossier, and they were trying to then go and elicit some sort of, obviously Trump was going to respond, and they wanted to see what that, and they actually were even speculating what that response was going to be before they even actually had the meeting. So this just shows you the state of mind of these deep staters, and there are quite a few of them, what they were trying to accomplish. So this whole thing was...
But I don't want to read between the lines. What they're trying to accomplish here, which we're going to see they are, is that, in other words, this is not a briefing. Comey is going in to collect statements from Trump, to tell Trump about Russia collusion, and then he's setting a whole apparatus up so that when he gets out, he can then compile the details of what Trump tells him in a private conversation and then feed that to the FBI. I repeat, James Comey is going into a briefing with an apparatus set up afterwards, a laptop inside of a vehicle that was transporting him, and then even more than that, which we're going to get to, where Comey then takes all of the statements that Trump would make to him and then give it to the FBI team investigating Trump. In other words, he's not going in to brief Trump only. He's not going in to leak the material only to the media, or somebody did. He's even more than that, going in to underhandedly use whatever Trump tells him in what Trump believes is a classified private briefing. Trump has no idea that Comey's taking notes. And then more than that, that Comey is going to then do what he does with the notes, which is also in the Inspector General's report. Tell us what it says in there that Comey then does when he gets out. And when I say gets out, I mean gets out of the Oval Office briefing where he doesn't tell Trump that he's basically spying on Trump.
Well, he even tells Trump that you're not being actively investigated. So he's lying to him again, even beyond that. He's telling him that this information I'm giving you, don't be worried or anything. It's not like we're investigating, which is a complete lie, which is exactly what they were doing. Yes, the IG quotes Comey, I'll quote, it says literally that right after he had the briefing, he literally goes straight downstairs, gets into the car. The FBI had a car waiting for him and a laptop waiting for him. It said immediately following his meeting with Trump on January 6, 2017, Comey he had a secure FBI laptop waiting for him in his FBI vehicle. And then when he got into the vehicle, he was handed the laptop and he began typing this memo immediately. And they were actually on their way after this meeting at Trump Tower, they were on their way to the New York field office. He said that he continued working on this memo until he arrived at the New York field office, where Comey then gave, quote, a quick download of his conversation with President-elect Rebecca McCabe Baker and supervisors of the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane Investigation Team, and this was done via a secure video teleconference. And then Comey said he probably also told them that, he would have more detailed notes and he's going to send them later. So, and this is another lie even beyond that. And just as a side note, in his book, which of course we went through, he mentions that the reason of why he went to the New York field office was because he has such an affinity for all the FBI agents, and he wanted to express his appreciation and his love for them. And he was in the area anyway, so he decided he would go down there and thank them. Although it always sounded weird because this was done pretty late in the evening, pretty late into the night actually, almost midnight. So that was his cover story that he wrote in the book. And of course now we're learning that's not the reason of why he went to the New York field office. He went there to use their facilities to immediately debrief the other deep staters on this stealth plot.
Well, what we're doing here is using the Inspector General's report itself to now divine what Comey did, which is he goes in, he briefs Trump, quote unquote, not telling Trump that he's going to take notes, and actually then feeds the notes. And when we say notes, it sounds very innocent, but no, feeds a private conversation between himself and Trump to the FBI Russia collusion hoax unit, the compartmentalized unit in the FBI, investigating Trump, but not even telling him that he's under investigation, and they're not telling him that the salacious material is paid for by Hillary and the DNC. Stay tuned for more.